speaker is no stranger to the USC campus. He hosted a workshop with the Humanitarian Society and recently was one of our guest speakers at the Entrepreneurship Club. He's so passionate and determined and has an incredible business model. So please help me welcome Alan from FruitCraft.
My name is Alan. I am the founder of FruitCraft Fermentery and Distillery. Before I get into the thing I'm super passionate about, which is our why, I wanted to tell you a bit about what we do, which is also pretty cool. And before I even get there, I think I'll tell you a little bit about my history, because that is really how we arrived at our what. And it really comes down to never taking anything at its face value. It comes down to questioning the status quo. I grew up as an atheist my whole life, and my first way of exercising my brain power and questioning why I believed what I believed really what came to a head when I was 17. And really what I'd like to impart originally here is that keeping an open mind is the very thing that entrepreneurship is really built on. We need to get down to the root cause of where the core problems in our world are coming from, and questioning and saying why are the things the way that they are is the number one way we do that. So back to the what. When we did that in the case of alcohol, what we came to find out was nature itself makes alcohol. You don't need man, you don't need any brewing going on. Literally, fruit will ferment and turn into alcohol. And that's been going on for millennia before man ever invented anything as it relates to alcohol. And for what it's worth, beer was an invented product. It would never have existed if man did not enter the world there. Same thing with sake, same thing with a whole bunch of the alcohol that we consume in our society. It was really a byproduct of the agricultural revolution. It was a byproduct of trying to create efficiencies and really finding cheaper, lower quality sugar sources to make our alcohol. So we're kind of going back to the roots. When you make alcohol from fruit, you're not only making a tasty alcohol, but you're making the highest quality of all alcoholic beverages. So in a nutshell, FruitCraft makes not only fermented fruit or fruit wine, but we make traditional red wine. We make cider, because that's made from apples. We make honey wine. We make kombucha. We make hard kombucha. And we're also distilling these fermented products into eau de vie, which is a super premium spirit, $110 bottle spirit. If anyone's into craft spirits, you think craft whiskeys like the bee's knees, it's not. It's made from grains or corn syrup. You see what I'm saying? Cheap. Fruit, on the other hand, is super expensive. There's a reason why it hasn't been done, but by God's will, we're going to do it, all right? So I don't have any other slides besides this, so just keep looking at the slide. But I should, and the real reason why is because the solution that we're trying to bring to our economy and to business at large really is high level in its understanding. But let me try to boil it down to the simplest economic basics for us. And that is, in our economy, there's always fundamentally four actors. This is what drives our economy. You have first and foremost, let me start one step below that, which is, in our economy, we have something called supply, and we have something called demand. This is like economics 101. And oftentimes when we think about entrepreneurship, we think about supply. We think about what idea, what product do I want to bring to market in order to create a business. And the demand part is the part of entrepreneurs listening to the marketplace to understand where the market is going, to understand what the market wants, sometimes even when they don't know what they want. And the important part there, too, is also to understand that if the marketplace wants something, say social change, the marketplace will get social change. I believe wholeheartedly that all the young people I see in this room and young people all over the world will replace the old people who will die. Everyone will die, and the old people who are ruining the planet will also die. And that means we will be in control of the economy. We will be the consumers who will hold companies accountable by consuming consciously, by making good decisions, not just what's tasty, what's cheap, what's convenient, but what is good for us and for our communities and for the world at large. And so those four actors I alluded to when it comes to an understanding of how we can accomplish this change, it absolutely starts first and foremost with waking up as consumers and being super duper pragmatic about where we spend our money. And the most important thing I think that we will come to find out is that it's not just companies that are local that we want to support, but it's companies that are sharing wealth instead of concentrating it. I think I'm going to say that again. The concentration of wealth happens when you buy from a company that's owned by an individual or by a small group of people. And so this brings me to the other nature of how we can affect change in our economy, which is down to ownership. What you find in that regard is two other actors in our economic roles. The first is founders. You will find that the people who own companies are the people who found them. It's pretty straightforward. But it's also the people who capitalize those companies. And so in the ethic of trying to decentralize power that it corrupts, to decentralize greed that is destroying our world, we have to consider that those two actors are not the only people who should share in the ownership of business, of enterprise, of the productive value of society. And really, when you look at who should be owners that tie an accountability to the outcomes of business, that is none other than consumers and laborers, or as I like to call it, the masses. Whenever you're talking about decision-making, and you let that decision-making live within a few people instead of the masses, corruption is an inevitable consequence of that. So when you're talking about it in the case of politics, we're talking about oligarchies or kingships. And what do we live in? We live in a democracy. That same revolution that we know about, that founding fathers saying, we hold these truths to be self-evident, and that they sought out creating a more perfect union, not a union based on kings and authority and all this stuff, but based on democratic control, based on the worth of all of us. That same revolution needs to happen in the marketplace and in business. And so once again, just to do an overview of that, those four actors are investors, founders, consumers, and employees. And at some point, we are all of those things. One day you'll save enough money, or maybe you have some from your trust fund, and you will act as an investor. You'll choose to be invested either in the public markets, in the private markets, or in your local community. You will one day become an employee when you graduate from school and you end up employed by another place. And the question is, are you going to be exploited by your employer to extract as much value from you so that they can be enriched? Or are you going to be a part of something that's bigger and more meaningful, something that's going to make a difference, something that will result in the sharing of the wealth? You might be extracted, you might be exploited, but at least what is being taken from you is being given to the masses instead of given to someone who already has more than enough. One day you will also potentially become a founder. And I implore anyone who ever wants and sets their sights up to start a company to not start that company for yourself. It is not going to make you happy. When you are on your deathbed, when you look back on your life, what people did for you is not going to play any relevance. It's what you did for them. And that is what we should be building business off of. What is that? It's the ethic of love. My God, it's the reason why we are living. And if you don't understand that love is somehow central to the human experience, and if we don't understand that love deserves to be at the heart of business enterprise, then we have not done our job as a society to evolve and to grow and to become what it is we were destined to be, which is the saviors of this motherfucking planet. The planet is dying, and it's because of the greed of the few. So what is our job? It's to collect, to be collective in our actions, right? So I want to continue to speak on this and kind of like invite all you guys to maybe be part of a revolution of sorts, because God knows I can't do it by myself. But more importantly, you can kind of get the nature of what I'm getting at, which is If it's a billionaire who's exploiting tens of thousands of people that we're okay with, why not let the tens of thousands of people rise up? Collectively say, hey, we've got $1 billion too, collectively, and we can now displace your business. And that's the beautiful part about this model. So I'll go a little bit further into it. This is called the social value enterprise business model. And that term social value is super critical. And it's because as we look towards the marketplace responding to young consumers acting consciously in the way that they buy, you will find plenty of capitalists who are still greedy at heart, and they give 1% to the planet. How many businesses have you seen have that 1% to the planet marked on their windows? It's ridiculous. It's not enough. The planet's going to die. We have to do more than 1%. So what does the social value enterprise model do? It gives 100% of the profits, and it pays that forward to let other people start businesses that are also community owned and paying forward their profits. We're talking about exponential style solutions that have a real impact and have the means to stop climate change in 10 years if we can act in concert, if we cannot let this message fall on deaf ears. So, at the end of this night, I'm going to have a clipboard, and I'm hoping to collect emails so that I can keep in contact with you guys. Why? Because FruitCraft is here just 5-6 minutes from USD. It's in Hillcrest on University Avenue, and we've got 10,000 square feet of space, and we too want to build community. What does that look like? That looks like figuring out who wants a job and how do we employ them. What does that look like? That looks like who's got funds to invest and doesn't want to invest in the wrong type of company to promote a business model that is exploiting our world instead of giving back to it. What does that look like? That looks like people who have ideas, who want to sharpen their entrepreneurial skill sets, because maybe in a year from now, when FruitCraft is profitable enough to be giving out its first $100,000 grant, you might have built a relationship with the decision makers who can finance your company, as long as you're willing to give up your ownership, like I have, to create a community-owned business model that is designed to have impact. We call this raise a glass to good. It's not very complicated. You're already buying the stuff that you're buying. You're already working the places that you're working. But if you can do it while making a difference, while making a huge difference, not a small difference, but one that has the ability to make the change that we need to, then I think we have hope. I'll wrap it up. But I do look forward to answering any questions everybody has. The School of Social Value is this nonprofit we're trying to form as FruitCraft has finally, after 9 years, created some stability. What I really am excited about is continuing to be on campus, investing into the youth, because those old people are going to die. I've said it before. I'll say it again. You are the future. They are the past. We're the ones in control. And if 1,000 or 10,000 young people choose to buy from a company like FruitCraft, you're going to find that the outcome of that is significant. It's not small. Thank you so much.